Hi guys, this is Kivos and welcome to this new episode of 3 Interesting Stories. In today's episode, a diver was swallowed by a whale, someone who lost something worth almost $1 billion, and a man who saved nearly 2.5 million babies in his lifetime. Without waiting, let's get into it. This man survived being swallowed by a whale. This is Michael Picard, a 56-year-old lobster fisherman from Massachusetts. On June 11th, 2021, he and his partner were initiating their second dive of the day on the coast of Herring Cove Beach. Michael was an experienced diver, accumulating more than 40 years in this type of work. But this time, the dive would be like no other for him. Their day had gone well so far. They had managed to catch 50 kilograms of lobsters already and were diving back for more. Michael descended 15 meters deep and everything went as expected so far. But that's when he felt a sudden shock and everything went black. He thought that was it, that he had been eaten by one of the many white sharks abundantly present in those waters. A moment later, his focus coming back, he realized that he wasn't injured, he could feel all his limbs and there were no menacing teeth around him. That's when he realized he hadn't been eaten by a shark, but rather by a whale. He had barely any time to feel relief though, because that's when the gigantic whale started to contract her muscles to try and swallow him. Thankfully, the whale couldn't swallow him, and that's when he felt some movement and started to see some light. Not too far away, his colleague had only just noticed his air bubble missing and that the water was shaking violently when he saw Michael being spit out by the whale. Thankfully, Michael made a full recovery after a quick trip to the hospital with only a few bruises and a good scare. On the flip side, he will have the coolest story to tell his grandchildren on Christmas. That was it for this first story, now on to the next one. This guy made a mistake that cost him almost $1 billion. James Howell is a 39-year-old from Newport, Wales in the UK. In 2008, at the age of 22, James saw the stock market crash and began to doubt about the future of regular currency and started being interested in cryptocurrency. He taught himself for a few months about a new digital currency called Bitcoin, and in 2009 he started mining it. James was so early in this new technology that he is now considered one of the only original 5 Bitcoin miners. At that time, a Bitcoin had basically no value. If you were to sell Bitcoin then, it would probably go for under a cent. Every other night he was mining around 400 to 800 Bitcoins, which would often cause his device to overheat. This went on for around 2 months, during which he accumulated over 32 kilobytes of Bitcoins on his laptop. What happens next would probably go down as the most expensive mistake ever made. Mistakenly, in 2013, the wrong hard drive was thrown away. At the time, its value increased to an impressive $500,000. James panicked, but he understood at the time that there was nothing he could do and it was already too late. But as the value increased, James would start to beg with the city to go and explore the landfill to try and retrieve his hard drive. The city though wasn't too keen on the idea and they refused for several years. That was until 2021 when he offered 25% of the value he found to the city, and they surprisingly accepted this time. Despite the slim chances of ever finding it, James has now spent $11 million on the project, including drones, robots, and a team of specialists. He's had no success since then, but he has tried to sue the city for $500 million, believing that if they allowed him to search earlier, he would have found the hard drive by this time. In January of this year, the court dismissed his claim though, stating that had they accepted his request earlier, James still would have had no realistic chance of finding it. With his search efforts and legal claims both failing, James will probably go down as the man with the most expensive mistake ever made. And now let's hear the last one. This man saved 2.4 million babies in his lifetime. This is James Harrison, an 88-year-old from Australia. At the age of only 14, James underwent a major chest surgery that required multiple blood transfusions. Despite his young age, he had the wisdom to realize that he was only alive because of the generous donations of other people. That's when he vowed to do the same when he would be an adult. As he promised to himself when he turned 18, James, who ironically was afraid of needles, went to give his very first blood donation. But that would be the first of many, many more. As it turns out, James' blood contained a very rare type of antibodies called NTD, which was the cure to a once deadly disease where the mother's immune system would attack the baby's red blood cells. At the time, only half of the babies affected with the disease would survive. From then on, every 2 weeks he went back to give his bi-weekly blood donation. He kept the habit going for the next 60 years. It is estimated that James 1,173 donations, managed to save 2.4 million babies over the years, almost 10% of Australia's entire population. Unfortunately, he recently passed at the age of 88, but scientists are now working on a synthetic drug that they call James in a jar in his memory. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you like stories like this one, please subscribe and like the video. Goodbye.